Hey guys, what's up? Jeff Black here, pro glamour photographer out of Tampa, Florida. Want to welcome you to HowToShootModels.com. In the first series of this exposure, we were talking about looking at the picture in your LCD and keeping your fingers crossed that it actually is properly exposed. I told you how to, adjust that via your computer to ensure better accuracy with that. Now, on to step 2 is a much more accurate system, and you're still using your camera, and this is what's called your histogram. If you don't know about your histogram, pull out your manual and do a little bit of reading about your histogram. Basically, what a histogram is, it's going to be a horizontal graph with a start point and an end point. And what will happen on this graph is the information about your picture will be displayed on this graph, and ideally, a properly exposed picture on this graph is going to look something like a bell curve or a mountain, where you've got your beginning point, you got your end point, and you don't have any peaks real high closest to the beginning or closest to the end. If you did have a real high peak in the beginning and then it fell off like that, it's telling me that your picture is horribly underexposed. Or if it's on the opposite end and it's peaking and coming back down, it's going to be overexposed. So what you're looking for is something, again, like a mountain or a bell curve, that's a real smooth, soft kind of roller coaster type effect. But that is going to tell you a lot about your exposure for a picture. So what we can do, I told you initially, if you were just using your LCD in your camera, you can look at it and it may be fine, but more times than not, it's not going to be fine until you calibrate it to your camera. So if you've got a camera, but you haven't yet calibrated it to your computer, and you need to know, shoot, is this shot properly exposed? Take a look at your histogram. Some cameras are set up where they can actually, in the LCD screen up in the top corner, they can show you a little histogram. And what happens with this histogram, it's going to give you the information. If you get this perfect, mountain or bell look, you can be pretty sure that you've got good accuracy on your exposure. If you don't, you're going to need to adjust something, be it your shutter speed or your f-stop, to get that to look like that. That is an extremely effective way to meter your exposure, or excuse me, to measure your exposure. A lot of people don't use that. A lot of people don't even know what the hell a histogram is. So I would recommend that you use that. You may be caught in a situation, if you're at a shootout or something like that, you're probably well equipped with your light meter or your gray card or something like that. But you might be out just farting around doing some shoots somewhere where you're relying on the camera to do the through camera metering, and it may wind up getting fooled. And really how that happens, how the camera gets fooled, is depending upon what type of lens you're using. If I'm using a real long telephoto lens and I've got a real tight crop on something, there's not tremendous amount of light information that could potentially confuse my camera. But if I were using a real short lens, like let's say for example a fisheye, where it's taken all this light and trying to read it and trying to do its all algorithms and whatnot and try to figure out a proper exposure, that's where things can start getting confused. It's going to do as best as it possibly can, but it still may be off and needs your help. So again, we can shoot with any type of lens. It's not going to matter. We can look in the camera, look at the histogram, see what we've come up with, and potentially have to bracket this. And bracket, what I mean by bracketing is you're going to either shoot up or shoot down. So you may be shooting at 1/25 at f8. What you may need to do is lower your f-stop to f4, 5, 6, something like that, 2.8, or conversely you may have to go in the other direction. So you can use the bracketing system with your histogram, and once you get that, like I said, you get that bell look, you are pretty darn sure that you've got good exposure. That's a tip and trick that I use all the time. I like to pass it on to you. I hope it's going to help. I know it's going to help if you actually use it. So good luck with it, and we'll move on to our next form of metering in the camera. Thank you.